Good morning. It is still morning, right? Yeah, 11. We're good. Good morning, guys. My name is Cara Stewart. I'm the grant facilitator for KCARD, Kentucky Center for Ag and Rural Development. Mr. Thomas Pierce is here with me today. Miss Taryn Varney is in Western Kentucky, so she got that snow earlier this week. But Thomas was able to come and be with me today to help out. So we're going to go over just a little bit of what KCARD does, and then happy to answer questions, but we plan to be here all day. So if you think of something later, come see us. I do have some business cards and some brochures if you would like them over at our table. But I'm going to let Thomas go first. He's going to talk a little bit about our business planning, and then at the end I'll talk a little bit about our grant facilitation.
Well, good morning. Like Cara said, I'm Thomas Pierce. I'm a business development assistant at KCARD. Unfortunately, all of agriculture is acronyms. We're an acronym as well, but hopefully it's not too hard to remember. Kentucky Center for Ag and Rural Development. We started about 20 years ago with the initial need identified as being helping cooperatives develop in the state. We've helped over 50 cooperatives develop in Kentucky during that time. But we've evolved as needs have changed in Kentucky agriculture and really now focus a lot on business planning, grant facilitation, which Cara will talk about grants, feasibility studies, basically the business of farming, the business side, financials, setting goals, getting things down on paper. So we heard from Angela Watson first with FSA, and she talks about how important it is to have a good business plan when you go to a lender. Well, it's also important when you're trying to apply for a grant, and it's also just important for you personally to have a roadmap for your business. So I'd like to talk a little bit about business planning and that process. If I seem a little bit disorganized, it's because I'm using Taryn's slides and not my own, but hopefully we'll make this work.
He's going to do fine.
So the business plan answers the questions who, what, where, when, and why, and how. It begins the process of making an idea materialize into reality. So it's important to remember that getting things down on paper is vital for telling your story. So a business plan essentially tells your story. A lot of people think, okay, I have a small operation, why do I need a business plan? Well, having a business plan in place really does two things. First, it allows you to go to someone else and say, this is concretely where we are now and where we're planning to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Also, what it does is it helps you sit down and think through, okay, what are we really doing here? How is it feasible? Who is going to buy what we're producing, etc. Establishes goals and benchmarks. Setting goals is really important. It's easy to have a goal in your head, but it's much easier to stick to a goal that you've written down and that you've talked about with other people. And then, like I said, it's a lot easier to receive funding from potential investors, lenders, etc. And it's a roadmap of your business. So at KCARD, we help with the business planning process. We aren't here to write a business plan for you or to give you a cookie cutter business plan and just edit edit your farm name into specific parts of the business plan. We're here to help you really think through the process. At the end of the day, you're not only going to have a business plan, you're going to have to think through all the questions that come with a business plan. And that is going to be incredibly valuable for you as you grow your operation. So how do you go about developing a business plan? So really it starts with your goals. If you start with the technical financial section, you're really going to kind of miss the point. The point is to start with your goals. And you want your goals to be SMART goals, and that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, or specific, measurable, attainable. Oh, the screen just went away.
It's up there.
It's up there.
See?
Okay,
There
I
you
can
go.
see it.
You can do it. Good job.
So, oh, it's in the back too.
Your eyesight's better than mine. I can't see back.
Nah, I'm not quite there either. So basically, you want your goals to be specific. You want your goals to be something that you can measure. I want to increase sales. Well, everybody wants to increase sales. How much do you want to increase sales by? How are you going to do it? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? If I said today, I don't exercise a ton. If I said today I want to run a 100-mile race, that's not attainable. I need to break it down into baby steps in order to get there. So there's different types of goals. You could talk about a goal in production. You could talk about a goal in growing your business. You could talk about a marketing goal. You could talk about a financial goal. And your goals are really going to fit in that first section of your business plan in your business description. And you're going to start by by just setting out who you are, basic description of your operation, and your goals broken down into short-term and long-term. You're going to then talk about your marketing. You're going to go into your operations and management, and then finish with your financials. And so, as I mentioned, K-Card helps with this process. We work with folks who are in the business planning phase, and that could be someone just starting out, or that could be someone who's operated for 10 years but wants to figure out, okay, how can we grow over the next few years? So when it comes to marketing and developing your plan, there's some key things to consider. You need to look at the industry analysis and the trends. So often it's easy to get caught on an idea for your farm, but not really think about what's happening around you. You need to think about who your target customers are going to be. You need to think about your products and your services, your competitors, kind of what your pricing strategy is going to be. That's something that we see a lot, is how do we set prices? What are resources out there? And what we do as people who are helping folks write business plans is we try to point you to resources that can help. So if I'm working with someone who wants to sell produce at the farmer's market, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in that. What I'm going to do is try to find resources that will help folks with that. So like UK's Center for Crop Diversification has 3-year reports on what farmers market prices on average have been throughout the state. That's a great place to start. So that's just an example of how we would point you to resources that would be able to help you advance as you're trying to figure out marketing specifically. How you're going to sell your products is going to be a key piece. So say, like I mentioned a second ago, say you're selling at the farmer's market. There's specifics about the farmer's market that you're going to want to know, that you're going to need to ask. Each farmer's market is different. I'm not going to get into it a ton, but being able to talk to the manager of a farmer's market, figuring out the rules of that market, talking to someone who sells there, because it may be a perfect fit for one farm, but it may be a complete failure for another farm to operate at that farmer's market. And so asking those key questions as part of your business plan is really going to set you up for success. This section's on financials. That's coming last in your business plan. It really depends on who you're showing your business plan to, but a lot of people are going to read that first section of your business plan describing your business, and they're going to read the last section, which is your financials. What's the bottom line? So taking time to really put into your financials in order to make sure that you're thinking through everything is really important. And what we do at K-Card is kind of help you through that process. We have several different templates that we use that are pretty generic, but you can take them and customize them to what you do on your farm specifically, and then go from there. So using the farmer's market example, there's tons of different steps in order to get to those final numbers in your financials. And so you want to make sure that each step along the process makes sense. And so what K-Card does is we provide a second set of eyes in order to look over what you're already projecting. We help people who are on all ends of the spectrum, from people who are pretty well versed in working on these on their own to people who are just getting started and who may not have experience. And either one is fine. It's just figuring out where you're at and how to grow from there. And so really with financials, a big piece is making sure that you have each thing lined up along the way. And at K-Card, it's never just one person looking over your business plan. Whenever I go through a business plan, I always have to send it to someone who has more experience than me in order to review it. I send it to my boss, Brent, and he's able to look over it and just make sure everything's lining up. Because it's very easy to look at your financials for a long time and just kind of go cross-eyed looking at it if you're like me. And you need another set of eyes to look at it. I don't know what Taryn was going for here, but here's this slide. The revenue, I'm just going to skip through these, if that's okay. All right.
All right, thanks, Thomas. Yeah, we kind of threw Thomas for a loop this morning. They're like, hey, you're coming. Why don't you go up there and talk about that part? So he did a great job. So the flip side of that, one thing I do want to say is with any of our programs, they are free for you. K-Card is funded through grants as well, so we get federal grants to assist farmers with technical assistance. Technical provider is kind of what we're labeled in those grants. We work a lot with KSU, we work a lot with CSA, somebody was talking about that earlier. Farm Service Agency, we work with them, NRCS. So we collaborate with a lot of these groups throughout the state to help farmers get a basis with that business plan. So the business plan is not as daunting, and we don't have a template, but we do have questions. So as Thomas said, it's going to be your roadmap, it's going to be your business plan, but we will help you along the way with some questions to kind of get you thinking in the right direction. So we do have that. So how can K-Card help me with a grant? Well, it was funny, we were laughing and talking this morning. Folks usually come to us and said, I need money for this. Isn't there a grant out there for such and such? Well, maybe, but is that something that you actually need? So what we try to do is match up your needs as a farmer in your business with what funding is available, whether it be a grant, whether it be with FSA with a low interest loan. We try to match up your needs with what's out there and what's available. So we have to know, starting with your business plan, we try to work. Now, we don't always have to have a business plan to do this, but when I sit down and talk with somebody, I need to know your business. I need to know your farm, your wants, what you want to accomplish. Because a lot of times what you think you need or what you think you want to apply for funding for is not going to be the best fit for you. We could go a different route and actually find some funding that fits a little bit better. Not every program is for every farmer. You got to be eligible. I'm not going to ask if Thomas here was a cattle farmer. I'm not going to say, hey, let's go with this crop diversification grant. That's not going to help him. So we need to make sure that you're eligible for the program that you want to apply for. Grants aren't free. A lot of folks think that. There's a lot of time and effort that's put into them. Not only when you go to apply for a grant and fill out the application, but what most folks don't understand is on the back end, there's going to be some reporting to do. So there's paperwork on the back end as well. It's not just, hey, here's some money, go have fun. You have to be able to back up that you paid for what you said you'd pay for, that you used the money for what the grant was supposed to be used for. So when looking at a program and trying to match up a farmer with a grant application, any kind of funding opportunity, is the money you're going to get from it going to be, number one, benefit your business, and is it going to be worth your time in the end? So is it going to be worth your time and effort, whether it's going to be a 6-month program, a 3-year program, to go forth and apply for this, for the grant? We will help you fill out those applications. Not only do we help you find them, we help you fill them out. It can be daunting and overwhelming if you haven't done it before, but for those of us that go through it all the time, we know, what to look for, what to fill out, what to put in what space. So that's what we are here to help. Understanding the rules and regulations, making sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and avoiding pitfalls and grant paperwork red tape, as you say. You have a lot to go through. So making sure you understand. I don't know where I'm supposed to point. So when you're looking at grants, especially on the federal level, producers mean farmers. So they don't always use the word farmer, they'll use the word producer. So producer means farmer. When you're looking at grant releases or information, NOFA and NFA, they basically mean requests for applications, funding that's available. So these are things that we help folks walk through. We help them understand. They'll say, I don't know what this is. Some programs are unforgiving, which means you have to pay back. Some are forgivable loans. We've heard that some today. Some, if you qualify and you get the loan, you do what you need to do, then it's really treated more like a grant, whereas some are not. Programs are usually competitive, which means you've got to beat out somebody else to get that money, which means grants are scored, which is where we come into knowing how do you get the most points going into that grant application. We are, as our former executive director liked to say, we are the skunk at every picnic, okay? If we don't think you're gonna do well, we're gonna tell you. We don't want you to put your time and effort in, and we don't want, us to put our time and effort in if it's something we don't think is gonna be attainable for you. We dash a lot of hopes and dreams, but we also have folks go, we're really thankful that you did because we needed to go this direction and we didn't realize it, which is going to be better for our farm and better for our business. And a lot of times folks don't realize if a funding opportunity actually needs matching funds, what that means. And depending on the program itself, it can mean everywhere from you got to show that you got this much money in the bank to match what they're going to fund you. You could do in-kind match. Some programs allow for your actual time to be allocated toward that. It could just be as much as getting a note from a lender. Hey, they have this much line of credit that is available. You won't have to need it necessarily, but that you could do it. It's just basically saying, you're in business, you're doing what you say you're doing, and that if it's going to be a match process where you put up X amount of dollars, then they're going to fund the same amount, saying that you do have that collateral. What it takes to apply. So depending on the actual program, and this is where we help you walk through it, business plan. That's kind of where we always start. We always want to start with that business plan. This does not have to be a 30-page document. This can be a couple pages, but it's your information so you see what your farm, your business is now, and like Thomas said, this is your roadmap. So this is going to help you as much as it helps the lender. If you're going for some federal funds, you're going to need to allow some time for what we call the Unique Entity Identifier from SAM.gov, or UEI. This is the bane of my existence sometimes, because it does take a little bit. It does. I do spend, I'm going to say probably 25% of my time helping folks get their UEI this time of year. Because they have to have that in order to apply for federal funds. It is not undoable. Sometimes it goes like clockwork. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 attempts and a couple meetings with individuals, but that's what I'm here for, is to help folks walk through the SAM.gov online website to get their UEI. Grants.gov is another one. They actually kind of work hand in hand. If you're getting a federal grant, you're going to have a UEI number. Some grants, not all, require you to apply through grants.gov, which is a website, and it takes a little bit more time to walk through the process. Some grants are still paper. You can still apply with the paper. You can mail it in, walk it in, or you can email them in. Make sure that you're aware of the time that it takes to prepare the grant. A lot of times we'll help folks say, we didn't know this was open and it's due next week. We will do the very best we can, but we're not going to tell you you have the best shot because you haven't put the time into it. Yes, it happens, but we need enough time to review it to have you be able to get back and change or fix or acknowledge the things that we have seen that you need to work on. And you need time to write it. This is not something that you want to just spend a few minutes on and then submit. If it's a federal grant, which we do a lot of, make sure you spend the time on it to give yourself the best shot possible to receive the funds. Some do's and don'ts of programs: start early. Make sure you get that UEI number early, because that can take a little bit, and that's something that we don't always have control over. So allow yourself enough time to get that. Make sure that you get a working draft to us as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be finished, but it has to be enough that we can look at it and see if you're going to be eligible. And make sure that we have time for sending it in, whether it's going to be by mail, hand delivery, or through grants.gov. We have had instances in my short time frame of being here where we had an applicant that didn't get it in on time just because he didn't pay attention to how much time it was going to take him to either hand deliver it to an office or that it would be mailed and received in time. So just make sure you're aware of those things and account for those. Don't wait till the program opens to start working on a project. Sometimes they allow us enough time. We had one that dropped just yesterday that we have a 90-day window, which is kind of rare. Most of the times they're going to be 30 to 45 days. So know what's out there, ask us, talk to us. That way it can be in our forefront minds of, hey, we see this coming down the pike. We think you might be good for it. Let's go ahead and get to work on your business plan. Don't assume if you've applied for an EUEI through SAM.gov that you still have it and it's fine. Those have to be renewed every year. So you have to have a good expiration date. Don't submit a project that doesn't match with your goals. Here, this is where we go back to that business plan and having those goals, those 3 to 5 year goals set out, and making sure that we match up your goals with the goals of the grant or the funding program, so it's the best fit. Don't submit a project you don't understand. We've had that happen before. That's what we're here for, is to make sure you understand what we're going for. And don't call us the week before and say you're ready to start your application. Now, I'm not going to say we won't help you, but you won't have the best shot possible to get the funding that you're looking for. All right, so here's one that we work through and we help a lot with. That's a great one here in the state of Kentucky, the Kentucky Proud Promotions Grant. It's what we call POP. You can get up to 10% of direct farm income, or eligible if you have up to 10% direct farm income, 50% of eligible and approved cost. These are things like advertising, promotions, radios. You got to be a Kentucky Proud producer, which is easily done through the state. The application is on the website. This is something that is completely underutilized, I think, in the state, because it is you can have up to $36,000 over the lifetime. And it's a monthly deadline, so if you miss it this month, you can apply next month. There's no registrations, none of that SAM.gov, grants.gov stuff. You just have to be a Kentucky Proud producer. It doesn't cost anything to be a Kentucky Proud producer. You just have to apply and be approved. So this is something I think that folks should use and could use to get some of these advertising things out, any kind of marketing things. You think about brochures, business cards, even like giveaway things, like if you go to a farmer's market, bags with your logo on it, things of that nature. So it's not just, the typical advertisement of in a newspaper, get paid for, or radio. There's other things as well. Excuse me. This is a big one for us. This is the one that I said just dropped yesterday. Typically, we have a 45-day window on this. I work a lot with these. We have 90 days this year. The Value Added Producer Grant. This is great because it's a federal grant that is for farmers, producers only. So if you're not producing the product that you're wanting to sell, this is not for you. Rarely do we have a program that is this in-depth for farmers. So we've been doing this for several years now. I want to say probably 10 years ago or so, USDA came to us and said, we don't have any Kentucky farmers that are even eligible or submitting applications for this value-added producer grant. Can you guys help us with this? I'm happy to say that last year we had 6, I believe. I'm trying to remember now. 6 get it. We've had as many as 10 per year in a year get it. It's a 3-year grant program. It does wonders if you're wanting to expand your business. So this is something that just came out. It's going to be due April the 16th. Majority of the ones that we do are working capital grants, which means it covers processing costs, it covers marketing and personnel and supplies. It does not cover buildings and equipment, but it's going to help you take your business from where it's at and grow it over the next 3 years by giving you those supplies that you're going to need. So it's going to help offset a lot of those expenditures. We've seen great success with this, up to $250,000. So this is something that if you're looking to expand your business from where you are right now, contact us today or after this meeting. With VAPG, there is a dollar-for-dollar match. Here again, you can use in-kind. So we have a lot of farmers that do that. They use their labor as in-kind. If you request less than $50,000, you don't have to have a business plan. However, we do suggest it for all those things that we've already talked about. If you're looking for anything between $50,000 to $250,000, you got to have at least 2 years experience, so you got to be in business for 2 years, or have a feasibility study. Majority of the folks are going to be in that 2 years experience or go for the lesser amount to start with. This is something you can apply for again as long as you've closed out your previous grant and you are looking to do something a little bit different. You can't do it for the same project, but you can reapply for VAPG. We have several clients that have done that. All right, so that was kind of a quick 50,000-foot overview of some grant programs that we work with. We work with K-State as well. I know Joni's going to be up here in a minute. I actually took her slides out of my presentation. And I'm super excited because Joni's going to talk about their new program, and I'm anxiously awaiting it. But we work closely with K-State. We work a lot with the Kentucky Department of Ag and the Ag Development Fund, better known as CAPE. Some people still know it as tobacco settlement money. Some people still know it as the Phase 1 money. However, we do work with that program as well. That's pretty in-depth, and I didn't want to get too deep into the weeds with it. Here is my contact information, but Thomas and I will be here the rest of the afternoon. So if you have any questions, please just come see us. Anything now I can answer that might be good for the group. I know that was a lot of information. And I tend to talk fast, so I apologize. Usually I'm on a time constraint. It depends on what you need. We kind of were virtual before virtual was cool. So if we're working with you, we can meet via phone, we can meet via Zoom, we can come to your farm. However, we can meet in a neutral location. So anything that you need, we try to do it. Of course, we kind of expanded that when it came to COVID. We really got into the Zoom meetings and stuff. We find the best thing and the best way to do a lot of this after the first initial talk is to sit down with you. We like to call it the table conversation. Sit across from you at the kitchen table and talk about your business and what you want to do. So we're more than happy to do that as well. Any others? Okay, so that's a great question. Where is our office? Our office is our homes. We all work remotely. There is 11, soon to be 12 of us. I'm so excited. We have a new staff person adding at the end of this month. We are across the state, but we travel the state too. So a lot of times when you come in and you first talk to us, you say, I saw Thomas at KSU. I really like to work with him. That's great. You can work with Thomas. If you are more in central Kentucky, we have somebody that's a little closer to you. We can set you up with them as well. But we do travel the entire state, but we all do work remotely. I am from Owenton, so I'm just north of here. Thomas is actually in Lexington. So we tend to come to a lot of K-State stuff as well. But like Taryn that was supposed to be here, she is down in Glasgow, Barron County. We have them all over, really. If you see an office, we receive our mail in E-Town. So if you ever see that, that's what it is. We do have an office in Elizabethtown at Nolan Electric Co-op, but we all work from our homes. Anything else? Well, we want to thank you guys for allowing us to come. Kentucky State University, we are always excited to partner with you in Third Thursday. Thomas and I will be here, so let us know if there's anything we can do for you.